Hello, everybody, and welcome to the BIDE podcast, the Barcelona International Dance Exchange BIDE podcast. Today, in our chapter 41, we have as a guest Teresia Björk. Teresia is an old friend of us. She participated in the first BIDE event ever. She's a choreographer, dancer, performer, and educator based in Sweden. And we are super happy to have this moment to talk a bit about the Teresia history, how she feel on her thoughts about the dance, and what plans are in the Teresia's hands. That is so interesting. So welcome, Teresia. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you.
So we always start with our guests about telling them or asking them to go backwards a bit and talk a bit about what was the driving force behind this path to enter into the performance arts head or in the dance head. So always in Spanish we said que bicho te ha picado. In English means what back bites you, to drive you to be dancing when you was a young and little Teresia.
Yeah, well, I've been in the business for so many years. I've been working for 35 years, and before that I had a very long education for almost 12 years. Actually, I found the dance practice and the school quite hard for me because I had another artistic direction already at the time, but I didn't know. But the drive for me was that I had a very big need of expression and to try to reach out already at that point. So dance was one of the ways that I tried to do that. But I also liked, all other expression as well: theater, music, books, and poetry, everything already at that time. And this just went on and went on and went on. And after all years of school and practice, I finally found what I would like to do with dance. So it took some years because I didn't call myself a choreographer before I was 35 years old, actually. And I've been dancing all my life. So that has been my drive, I think.
And because we know really well, and a bit, but maybe for our listeners, how was these first stages of your career in Stockholm, in Sweden? Sometimes, and we talk, before about how some people sometimes, they idealize the North Country like the perfect place to be a dancer. We talked about this with Israel Aloni a few podcasts ago, and what do you think about being a place where if you want to dedicate to dance, looks like everything is there for you?
Do you mean if it's everything there here in the Nordic countries, or do you mean where?
Yeah, I mean in Stockholm. What is your take when you start, permeate with all these influence and input from the dance field, not just, of course, the poetry, the books, and everything else that is part of your career?
Well, my take has been very different from time to time, but I find for me it was like I had to make a choice. Either I go to just being a dancer and work with people and other choreographers, which I did for a quite long time, but also the drive that with all this that I mentioned before, that I would like to express things, that made me have the take that I have to go for it myself and find the stage where I will show my work, and that was a drive in itself. And that was my take, that I had this drive, and but I also very early wanted to reach out further. Because it's always much harder to be like the professor in your own city or your own country. In that sense, I found it easier to go back and forth to my country and away, because in other places I could do even more than I could at home, and vice versa sometimes. So I have changed the environment quite a lot during the times because of that I wanted to reach out the most, and that was actually a take of mine as well. I mean, in all big cities, it's hard to reach out with your dance. It takes some while. So I mean, I struggled on for quite many years before I had that chance to reach out also at home in my own town, actually.
Mm. And you name it before that also you go out, so we know that in this early period also you go out from Sweden, to Paris, Budapest, St. Petersburg. So what happened when you had experience to see other type of practices, other people, other kind of environment or community? So what and what happened when you come back to Stockholm with all this experience in your back?
Yeah, it was such a great inspiration and so different from Sweden for me. I think that actually made me better in many ways, and also it was also a very good inspiration in that way that there were so many other ways than I've been taught and seen in my own country. It also made, I mean, in one way it was also a way of thinking that the ideas I have is actually possible, and I can do them in so many other ways than I learned from before, and also the vision of what I thought was art on stage became very visible. I could really see it in others, and also the practice in other cities and countries were really important to me. I got a lot from that, and also I met a lot of very important persons for the rest of my life in these countries that actually followed me for a very, very long time. Some of them still are. So it meant a lot for me, and I grew very much as a person, of course, but also as an artist by doing that very early. So that was a great influence in my career, and actually I think it made me do the things I do today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can imagine that. And also in these early days also you work as a model, if it's
Yes.
okay. And because it's not the usual. Sometimes some dancers, we had recently a podcast with Brigitte Catan that she is dedicated to make choreography for musicians, for video clips, and it's another kind of animal, let's say, but it's interesting to ask you, how was this period when you combined, also with this modeling side of your path?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think it's the best extra work you can actually have. I mean, that was we say in Swedish, brödjobb, as what you do for living. And the years where I couldn't survive of my dance, the modeling gave that to me, and also it was a very good experience in that way to work so closely to photographers and the camera. I learned a lot from that, and I had that with me when I did other things in dance and theater after on, and it was really. It was a really good school in many ways, and also in a bad way, of course, because the modeling world is crazy in many ways as well as dance. But I was happy that I had my dance, because that made me also make choices. I mean, I had the opportunity to be a model very early, but at that point, I was around 13, 14 years old. I said no. So I started up later, and that was really good, because I think as a so young girl as I was at 13, 14, it was a good choice that I chose dance. But later on, when I got the possibility again, I think it was a good choice in that way that I traveled all around the world, actually for a very long time. And I met people in other constellations because of that. And that was very, very, very good experience in many ways. And also I've got, like a sense for film and photo in another way. I really appreciated these years of that. And you just have, I had like 10 years, which is a long way in this kind of business. And then it's over. So, I mean, after I was 34, 35 years old, it was over, done with. Since then, I didn't do that at all because it's so much about age in that business. So I'm happy that I had the chance.
And also you name it the relationship with television, that is also some part of your early days. How is this relationship with the camera? I mean, the steady camera, meaning the photography, but also with television, that is also another type of animal, so to speak, where everything needs to be, like 5 minutes before, so we need it for now. No, we need it for 5 minutes before. So how was your this in these early days, your relationship with television?
It was also a great school of mine. I didn't do it that much, but I'm happy that I had the chance to try. And I think that what I realized was that this kind of that you are there, that you have your what do you say? You have to be very, very much in the minute, here and now, when you do television, and actually that's my strength on the stage. So for me, it was a very good way of exploring that and doing more of it in that sense. And also it's a very good school in many other ways to, just be in that practice and be very clear about what you want to say and how you say it and what you express. So for me, it was a good school.
And you can share a bit, to close a bit the early days questionnaire about how was your first experience as a choreographer with your first play that have your name behind. If you can tell us a bit, how was the experience, to put on stage for the very first time your voice as not just as a dancer, also as a choreographer.
Yeah, I remember that very well. I did a lot very early, and I will not talk about the things that I did for classmates and stuff when I was like 12 years old. And I
no. No, maybe we can. Yeah, or for Christmas, for the family. We all of us have this experience. We our first choreographic works happens in the family field. In this big family reunion. But let's say, as a professional.
Yeah, but one of the most challenging things I did, because I started up, I went out rough. I did a piece for, like, I think they were 22. I started up with a very big piece, actually. It was called Chaos. And it was the professional one, but they were very young. They were some of them were dancers, singers, and some of them were actors. And we did it in a very special building here in Stockholm. That was it was an old factory. It's called the factory of Nobel. So it was because of the Nobel Prize. He had a factory many years ago, so this building we went to, and it was a collaboration with one of the musicians that I actually still work with, Martin Landqvist. And he did great music for this. And it was a very interesting process because in some ways I always knew what I wanted to do with this production. But it was an eye-opener for me how difficult it is to work with so many people. Maybe I should have started up with less people, for example. But so it went out to be, like a what can I say, a musical drama, more or less, and with a lot of humor. And when looking back at it now, I can see that some of them were actually doing this so great, because I mean it was my first bigger piece, and I think they did this in a very, very nice way. And in this factory, which was not renovated at the time, it became very dramatic in that way, in that sense too. And the music that Martin Landqvist made was very, very, very nice and very deep in many ways, and lyrical at the same time. It was super. And then we had 2 opera singers within this piece too, and they were naked. And I think at that time that was really, a big thing in Sweden, that someone were naked on stage. So that made some lines in the media. But yeah, I think that was a very nice experience, and also it made me think that I wanted to do much more. But after that, I didn't work with so many people at the same time, except for companies and stuff there where it has been a lot of more people. But after that, I went more to like 5 to 10 dancers the most, or solos, like I did the latest years a lot. So yeah, but I learned a lot from doing such a big production as one of my first here in Stockholm.
Yeah, and as you said before, it's super great, because I mean, it was a big spot, to start for you and for somebody, to start in this way, being your first time on stage, as you describe it, and also with all these things around and on this background around. So after that, you have a super, I mean, amazing career. What was okay? I made it. What is next? I mean, how was this moment where Teresia said, okay, to Teresia itself, not from a psychotic side. So sorry, don't tell me. Okay, I made this. I can do this. So I like it. What was this moment of what is next? And then I want to ask you a few more things about this path.
I think that's what I think about a lot now when I'm getting older, because I was always in the next. I was never where I was. And that is something that I think was a lack from my side, because I was always on the run, and I had a very high tempo. I was running for next project and next project and next project all these years, actually. And my drive was all the time that I had so many things that I wanted to do, or it was also that I got opportunities that, well, can you do this and this? And it was very short time to actually produce things. So it was many reasons why I did so much at the same time. And actually, I have never been, like content with what I'm doing. So every time has also been a drive for me that what can I do better next time? What can I change? How can I develop this and this so it becomes different? So all this kind of self requirements, or what you call it, I don't know, it made me do so many things at the same time. So that was my past, that I did a lot of things for many years in many different places and countries and cities. And then I came to a point, actually, 2012, because then I had a performance at one of the big theaters here in Stockholm, Stadsteatern. And I had come to that point in some ways that I'm tired of doing new things all the time. I just that I have to do new things. I want to stay in one project for a time, for a while. And actually, after that production there, I was asked that I could do another performance in the house, but another stage in the house. And then I decided to well, let's go for one project now for a while. And then I started up the trilogy about the Swedish artist Siri Derkert. And I decided to do a trilogy before I knew all what was all the research that I had to do. And that was a big luck for me, because it happened to be a lot of information about the Swedish artist that I have brought with me for many, many years before. But I finally decided to do something about. So then I realized that, oh, this is the way I actually want to work, because then I stayed with that project and the trilogy for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, super resonate to me, because sounds like this. And we talked before, as friends, about this sense of, okay, let's go forward all the time. Let's make something forward all the time, and sometimes miss this, not miss this present, but being also in this sense of trust and stay in what is going on right now, with your artistry. So it's super interesting that you say, okay, I want to do the trilogy. I don't know what be, or I know the general concept, but I want to do a trilogy. And something that I admire, besides many other things from your side, Teresia, is about this is that you put like goals or wishes, or what we call in Spanish deseos, and then finally happens. No, so it looks like you have a super strong relationship with your deseos, with your wishes, because for me are the driving force behind everything. It's not just the doing, it's not just the being, it's the wish to being, and then suddenly doing.
Yeah,
and
that's true. Really true.
And also, I mean, you also open the or what we call in Spanish, abriste el melón. You open yourself to collaborate with many artists.
Yes, yes.
Some of
yes,
them we have colleagues in common. And how was this experience of of having with all these great guys? How was this? Because you're a super curious person also, to take all these
Yes.
inspirations, inputs, ideas. I mean, you like to also to improvise a lot. You work with a good friend of us, Ingo Rauleke, for name it one of them. You also you go to Los Angeles to make a commercial with that in Hoffman. I mean, it was so wide. your I mean, the Teatro de los Sentidos in Barcelona is really wide, and sometimes as also. The opposite side, from something super experimental to something absolutely fancy and commercial. So how was this moment of, okay, I want to also at the same time open myself to collaborate with other brains, or other souls?
Yeah, for me it was very natural from very, very early age. But it was also very difficult, because at that time it was not at all what can I say, open from other sides. So it took some while before I could actually get the collaboration, even though I was very curious very early. But I think, you find your soulmates. There are other persons that also think a little bit like yourself, like, for example, you and I, or Ingo, or others. And I think that I haven't been the person or the artist that I am today without these collaborations, because I learned so much from all this. In the beginning, I didn't know about that. I learned so much because I had so many ideas myself, or just was dancing in that way. But with that perspective now that I have, I can see that I learned so much just to meet all these persons, just to be in these environments, in all these kind of situations that actually turned up just by meeting people like this, like I have done. That is one of the schools that I actually have, one of the educations that I actually got from being curious and having all these kind of collaborations. And I think it gave me so much in so many ways. So I appreciate it so much, and I think it is for me it's the richest gift that I've got in my life, or at least one of them, because it made me do things that I never had done without these kind of meetings and collaborations, because to meet other people within this art and this kind of thinking, it makes you being someone better. I think it made me a better person also. And so much inspiration and so much joy and so much struggle, of course, also. So yeah, I'm so thankful and grateful to have had the possibility to do all this, and that I also struggled for getting it, because I mean sometimes it was harder also to get the collaborations. I mean financiation and the funding and all these kind of things that you have to fight for. But with that said, I'm so grateful. It has been amazing meeting all these guys.
And I want to touch also because at the same time you develop a strong relationship with your pedagogic side, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And actually, I had the chance to experience how is your let's say your methodology right now, you know.
Yes.
A few months ago when we met here in Barcelona, if we can share with our riders a bit of because I mean the class for you, so you always told me that is also a laboratory. It's not just, you know, going there, teach something. It's a place where you put your ideas in motion. So
yeah.
How start this path, you know, that happens at the same time of all the things that you already shared with us, and where is right now the Teresia pedagogical side?
It started up like I've also always been teaching, I could say, because very early the headmaster of one of my educations, where I went to the ballet academy in Stockholm, the headmaster there, she asked me very early if I would like to teach. And for many years I taught in, you know, all the traditional dance subjects like ballet and contemporary and also jazz ballet, and you know I did everything for many years. And but at the same time, because of my artistic direction was different from that, I felt one day that this is not possible anymore. I can't get it together with what I'm doing on stage. So I quit teaching for a while. And then the professional daily dance training in Gothenburg called me and said, we would really like you to come here to teach for 2 weeks. And yeah, and I said, but I'm not teaching anymore. And they said, but you can come and you can do actually whatever you want with these guys, because they are very different, and they just come for, like, you know, warm-up classes, and then they go to their daily work. And I said, yeah, I will think about that. And at that time, I worked with a musician quite close, because we had a duo that we toured with for almost 6 years. So I said to him, but actually, what can we do? So with that said, I started up to think about what can I do if I'm not going into the studio and just giving a, you know, like technical class. So I started up my own method, which I call finding tools. And it's a combination of that I give tools to work with. We start up very easily, just by using every part of the body to work in the room, and then the students or the dancers or wherever people come, they get tools to use for also trying to start up solo work. And then I also combine that with some more theatrical expressions that I want people to try and explore and see if they can bring that into their own choreography and dance. So that's part of my practice that I use today, and I work on it. So if you meet me for one day, we take parts of it, but the practice I can say that it should be over at least 6 weeks, a few times every week. So I try to see if I can develop my own practice and my method. And today I'm working at Ballet Academy here in Stockholm, and I'm also going around in the country here in Sweden to give workshops. This week I go to the island, Gotland again for the third time, just in half a year. And then I go to Malmö, to Skånes Dansteater, and have the company there for training. And they are all finding tools with me, but in different ways because of where they are at the moment in their own dance. So the practice is going on, and I try to extend it for each time that I meet people or dancers or persons or whatever, to see how I can make it further and how can I actually go on. But the base is still there from 2006 when I started it up. But the years pass by, so I add things all the time, and different dancers try different paths within my method.
Mm-hmm. Super. And if we now go retrospective to your present, I mean, Stockholm is seen, Gothenburg is seen, to name the two big cities in Sweden, changed a bit since you start over, so you start your career. So I mean, if somebody start right now, be a different and totally different game. But how is your take, seen from this present? What happens, nowadays? And where is is this created animal that you have inside right now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it has changed a lot, and my take on is that there are a little bit too little space for all the choreographers. We are many, and there are very little time to be able to present your work, both in Stockholm and Gothenburg, and that is a bit problematic because many with me, we are instead going away for other places in Sweden, but also abroad, because we need to have places to show our work. And that's different, because when I started up, it was not very easy, but it was easier to have the possibility to show your work. Also because of age, of course, because it's always, producers and others are always interested in new upcoming choreographers. But it's also a way of that the dance has changed so much. Nowadays, it's so conceptual many times, and we can see this a lot in our stages in Stockholm at the moment, that there are a lot of conceptual work, not so much dance as we used to call it. And I think that is a lack in the dance business. I think both are needed, but we need also to put more time for the handicraft, the work of dance, and the dance too. So that is a big issue, I think, and I share it with many choreographers of my age, of course, but also others, younger or older as well. So that there, I think we have something to discuss and solve in Sweden and some of the other Nordic countries too. So many of us, we go around to have the possibility to show our work, even though I think all of us, first of all, want to show it maybe here at where we live and where we work. And that is a bit problematic, but I'm working on it and trying to have the dialogue with all the people that work in these houses for dance. But there is a lack of stages in Sweden, and we are many that struggle on to try to have a space to show our work. So that's why also it takes some time to get to premiere many times, because it's a lack of stages. And what were your other questions?
No, I mean, you are working on it. So what's the near future in the Teresia Powerful Planet is planning
It's a lot.
to I know. If you can name a few, because I know you have many things in your hands. But what the near future in the Teresia's Planet is coming to give us a more fruitful and beautiful experience to this planet Earth, you know.
Thank
you bring
thank you.
beautiness to the planet. So what is in your hands?
Oh, thank you so much, Sebastian. Well, right now I'm trying to, according to what I said before, I'm trying to get out 2 of my pieces. Which is, one is called Amorph, and the other one is called Unknown so far, because it's a work name. One is with 3 dancers, and I'm there but not on stage, and the other one is a solo with a new musician that I work with, Stefan Johansson, which is making fantastic music. So that is 2 of the pieces that I want to get out with. And then I also have a collaboration that I will do in Paris next year. And that is a little bit more secret so far, but I will go there. So that is part of what I'm doing. And then I also have a lot of workshops going on that I will do this year and during the spring 2023. And then I hopefully can do something also in other parts of the country during autumn 2023 and spring 2024. So there are a lot going on, but actually I will this week I will know more about what's possible or not. But these are a few of the things that I'm trying to reach out with.
Well, thank you so much to sharing a little part of your life with us. It was a pleasure to hear you, and super inspiring, like always, to talk with you. Thank you so much, Teresia.
Thank you so much for having me. That was really great, and so nice questions. I'm super happy for that.
Well, I'm
Thank
glad that you like it. So this was the podcast number 41. Thank you so much, and see you at the next one.